Welcome back to Cam in the Moment. I'm Cam, and here are your week's biggest moments coming up. All right, guys, welcome back to the segment here on Coastal Conservative News. I'm joined with a guest today, Allie Hopper, the president and co-founder of GUARD Against Trafficking. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we have a big story to talk about, so I wanted to get an expert on this topic here to talk about it. So, Florida operation this last few weeks just came out. Operation Home for the Holidays saved 122 kids, many of which were trafficked. And so you work in the industry of anti-human trafficking and stuff like that. So this story just came out, and I wanted to get your opinion as someone who works in it every day. What did you think about this? What do you know about the story?
That it was a success story. This is what happens when multiple agencies work together. Local, state, and federal agencies work together to actually find children, to combat crime, to go up against and arrest bad actors. So this is the result of that. You get 122 children that are rescued from tragic situations.
Yeah, in which they said this was one of the largest child rescue missions in history. So it's a big thing. And over a 2-week span, multi-agency task force came together and got youth ranging from 23 months old to 17 years old. So it's a big, a bunch of different ages and stuff. I have the counties, or the cities as well. We have 57 children in Tampa Bay region, 14 in Orlando, and 22 in Jacksonville, and 29 in Fort Myers. So can you tell us a little bit about why we're seeing different numbers from each of these, like why one would be more than the other?
So you'd have to understand the Unaccompanied Alien Children program, and I would encourage anybody that's never heard of it to go look at the program itself on the Health and Human Services website. Now, under that, it's under the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Under the past administration, when the border was wide open, they had this program, and when children came over the border unaccompanied, then they were entered into this program. Many times they came across the border with slips of paper in their hands. And for anyone that tries to negate that, me and my business partner, Dr. Jared Sadolski, were actually on the border. We saw unaccompanied children. We took pictures of the slips of paper that they had in their hand, and we spoke with these children. They confirmed with us that cartel members actually tell them, this is who you're going to request to be your sponsor. You are going to say that this is your aunt or uncle.
Wow.
You're going to go to this location, and that is where you're going to pay off your debt to the cartel. So this is what happened under that program. There was no meaningful vetting of these sponsors. There was no meaningful vetting of where they were sending these children. And so when I've testified in front of Congress and Senate, demanding accountability, demanding oversight for these programs, that is what we were trying to expose and shed a light on, that these children were sent to every single state across the country. So it's not just a border state issue. It is a local, state, and national issue that everyone should be aware of.
And sometimes these counties and local agencies don't work with the federal very well. So why is that, and what difference does that make in actually carrying out an operation in those states and cities?
It's unfortunate because when you see success stories like this, it is because of the collaboration of local, state, and federal, like you said. But when you have local and state agencies that are stonewalling federal agencies from even coming into their communities, you know, they're messaging it as, you know, we're afraid that you're going to mass deport everyone in this city or state.
We have these sanctuary cities, they call them.
Exactly. So they're insulating the bad actors and the criminals and actually encouraging traffickers, cartel members, gang members to go to those cities and states because they know that they will be protected.
Wow.
They are bringing the children that they're trafficking and exploiting there. And so it's now operating as a safe haven for criminals. So I can't really wrap my head around it other than the fact that we're trying to raise awareness, educate people on the importance of cross-collaboration, multi-agency collaboration. If the only thing that you're collaborating on is saving children, that's enough for me, and that is what we need to be focused on.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a partisan issue at all. It should be everybody against these people, because this is just one of the biggest evils I think there is, human trafficking, and with children in these cities, even in Florida. And it's good that we're seeing these operations go out. But allegedly, 6 predators were arrested, and the Florida Attorney General had a strong message for these predators. Watch.
Marshals to go out there leave no stone unturned, utilize technology and every resource at our fingertips to get the job done. So I'll conclude before turning it over by saying, by now you should know, if you come into Florida and you want to lay a finger on our kids, if you want to prey upon them, if you want to groom them, if you want to abuse them, everybody up here is coming for you with everything we've got. We're going to lock you up for as long as possible, and we're eligible for child sex battery. We will indeed seek the death penalty. So child predators, stay out of Florida. You are not welcome here. If you come here, we will hold you accountable to the fullest extent of the law. So thank you for being here this.
Wow, so that's a pretty strong message. What are your thoughts, Ali, on Attorney General James Withmeyer's message there for predators?
Those are the messages that need to be delivered from every single state, because honestly, like I said earlier, cartel members, gang members, child predators, pedophiles are fleeing of the undocumented status, illegal status. They are fleeing to these cities and states for insulation so that they can continue their operations in exploiting and harming children. So we need more people like Attorney General Withmeyer standing up, pushing back, speaking into the public about what's going to happen if you end up coming into our state.
Yeah, because this is a state, in Florida we're lucky, but you look at other states like California where they have big sanctuary cities that basically say, like we're saying, would protect the predators. Isn't that against everything we should be doing as American citizens for our children?
Yeah, when they conducted a raid in California on, they call it the lettuce farms, the pot farms, they found 14 unaccompanied children there.
Wow.
So while the news was echoing outrage over ICE coming in and getting illegals that were on final orders of removal, or they had criminal rap sheets a mile long, they had no business being in here in this country. They wouldn't have gotten legal status in any way, shape, or form. They actually found 14 unaccompanied alien children. So these are the things that people need to keep in mind. When ICE is coming in, they're not just looking for the bad guys. They are also looking for missing and exploited children. They're looking for exploited men and women to actually intervene and assist.
Yeah, and you see some states and cities that are not even letting ICE in, which is really sad. So I'm grateful we live in a state that actually is working with the law enforcement to protect children. That's the whole goal. But what does it take for someone that works in this from day to day? What does it take to pull off an operation of this magnitude like they did in Florida?
Cross collaboration and just sharing intelligence, sharing operations, making sure that you're on the same page as far as tactics when you go into a community. So they all have to be on the same page. They can't be fighting each other. It can't be an ego thing. It has to be for the good of the community, for the good of the children, and that's what we saw here.
Wow. So tell us about GUARD Against Trafficking. What do you do there, and what's the big mission of what you're trying to accomplish with that organization that you're a part of?
So I am the president and co-founder of GUARD Against Trafficking, and it is a 501c3. Me and my business partner, Dr. Jared Sadelsky, started it. And what's unique about our organization is that we conduct the research firsthand. We are reading other people's reports and research, but really what we do is we conduct on-the-ground, in-person, firsthand research.
Wow.
So we've seen trafficking inside the United States in person. We've seen what goes on at the border when it was wide open. We've gone into Mexico, we've gone into Central America and South America, and we've interviewed incarcerated traffickers, because how are you going to understand the patterns, the strategies, how they target people, how they conduct operations without speaking to the people that actually do the trafficking?
Yeah.
And so from those findings, we've actually gone to Capitol Hill and testified numerous times on what we've been able to find out.
Wow.
So that is the power of getting information firsthand, going to the source, trying to provide not only research and findings, but that also shapes our education materials. So we educate law enforcement, we educate lawmakers, community members, and then we advocate for policy recommendations, for legislation that actually is going to move the needle.
Wow.
Like the anti-grooming bill here in Florida.
Yeah, and you're in the roots, you're in the, on the ground in this stuff. So how important is it that people actually know about what's going on? Because a lot of this gets hidden in different places. A lot of people don't know the reality of how many kids are trafficked, even in the United States. So how important is that to tell people?
It's extremely important, because if you don't understand what trafficking looks like and what leads to it, then it puts you, your family, your neighbors, your children at risk, honestly. So I introduced I authored and introduced, got passed and signed into law, the anti-grooming bill here in Florida, where it makes it a felony 3 for adults to sexually groom minors. It's legislatively or statutorily, it's called harmful communication or conduct with a minor. And so now it's a felony 3. And it's really sad because we were training law enforcement, I believe it was in Hillsborough County, and we had mentioned the grooming bill, and they said, wait, that was you guys that did it. And we said, yeah, and it was a sex crimes detective. And he said, we were following that piece of legislation so closely because as soon as it became effective, we arrested a John, 39 years old, substitute teacher that was sexting a 14-year-old student. And unfortunately, we're seeing these cases all across the country, but not just across the country, Cam, like in our own communities.
Yeah.
Like you saw the article where a Charlotte County sheriff's deputy was arrested a couple weeks ago for soliciting a minor, 10 years old, on Roblox.
Yeah.
That is absolutely unacceptable. And we love our law enforcement. We support our men and women in blue. We support those that serve our country. But people need to realize what grooming looks like. They need to realize who commits these crimes, that it can be anybody. It can be men. It can be women. Victims can be men, women, boys, and girls.
Yeah.
And buyers can be men and women.
So how do we protect these children from that? Because that happened from someone you would think to trust, for these kids and us. So how do you know what to look for and when to pull your child out of a situation or not trust the person? Because that's authority. You would seem like you should trust them, but I guess not every time. Absolutely.
The first step is awareness. And honestly, that is a key component to our nonprofit, is raising awareness. Like I had mentioned, the materials that we create, we support other nonprofits. We have strategic partners across the country and across the world. What we try and educate on are the findings that we've gleaned ourselves by, like I said, speaking to incarcerated traffickers. How do you target people? What are you looking for in a victim when you seek someone out?
Yeah.
And really try and understand from the mindset, from a criminology perspective, how they go about doing this. And so when parents are able to learn how to protect their children, when they're able to learn the signs of grooming, the signs of sextortion, law enforcement as well, the academy, and this isn't to say anything negative. It just means that we need to provide more resources and more training to our law enforcement officers to identify the signs of human trafficking. Because when we go and train these agencies, a lot of what we're presenting they've never heard. And most people haven't, because we're trying to stay on the forefront of what we're finding out.
Yeah.
And so parents, I just encourage you to be aware, understand what grooming looks like, because that's how it starts. It's rare to see the white van at the end of the street that's going to snatch and grab your child. Really, what we start to see in most cases, 9 times out of 10, is it starts with grooming.
Wow.
It starts with manipulation. It starts with that control factor, that friendship of winning someone over, gaining their trust. And that's why the grooming bill is so important, because it cuts the head off the snake before it bites someone.
Wow.
And so it doesn't matter, like I said, if your child is a boy or a girl, they are still susceptible to becoming not just a human trafficking victim, but sexual assault and different types of abuse. If we aren't careful, if we don't identify these signs, then it makes our children more vulnerable.
Yeah, it seems to be everywhere, not just in these big stories we see every now and then. It's almost in every community. And we just saw, actually, today I heard a story, we were just talking about it, a Sarasota school employee and volunteer, Kobe Bradley, was just accused of inappropriately touching 3 students at Sarasota High School and Sarasota Performing Arts, School for the Arts. So this is happening in schools with volunteers and people in the school system. So
yeah.
it just goes to show it's not just out of reach, it's right in our communities.
And it's really sad, because I think that it was about a year ago, there was another case where it was an individual that worked in Venice High School. So it's everywhere. It's not like a specific area of Sarasota County or a specific area of Florida or the country. You're going to find these cases everywhere. And sometimes people ask, why are we seeing so much of it now? Well, 2 things. First of all, people are identifying it more now, and they're reporting it early on. We have more brave law enforcement officers that are trying to enforce the laws on the books. And if we can get prosecutors to actually prosecute on these crimes and judges to issue sentences that are harsh and not lenient, not a slap on the wrist encouraging.
Almost like deterrence.
Exactly. And so we just need the community to come together to support law enforcement by also making sure that they understand and are aware of what it looks like to make sure that they prevent this from happening in their families and their inner circles. It's extremely important. But like you said, it was a school employee. I gave an example of a sheriff deputy.
Yep.
You know, it could be a stranger at the park. It could be anyone. And most of the cases are of trafficking and abuse are by somebody you know.
Wow,
So
really?
a family member, a friend, a neighbor, someone that you would never expect this to happen.
That's scary. So I have to ask, is there any advice for students, teenagers, to be able to recognize this kind of thing before it happens, so to prevent it? Because schools, again, place you should be able to trust adults and stuff, but is there any early signs that they can look for as a teenager?
Yeah, absolutely. We list a bunch of things on our website. We have a couple strategic partners that we work with that put out training specifically for youth and juveniles and how to identify the signs. Those are listed on our website, guardagainsttrafficking.org. But like I said, our strategic partnerships are very strong in that we present the training of what we are able to find, and anything that we're not able to, kind of provide expertise on, that's when we rely on our strategic partners. So we have Sail of Freedom in the community. They also provide aftercare services for women that have faced trafficking situations. So the aftercare facilities and aftercare are super important. The rescue organizations are extremely important. Association for the Recovery of Children is just one of many that actually go in and work with local and state law enforcement to conduct rescues. But that has to be done very carefully. You can't expect to be kicking in doors and rescuing children, because you put yourself, the child, and everyone at risk when you do that. But that is why these strategic partnerships are so important. And what I would encourage children and teens to do is that no matter what, nothing is bad enough for you to take your life. So if something is wrong, if you feel like something is wrong or that you did something and you're ashamed of it, still bring it to your parents. So I'll give you a quick example of what I mean by this. We were giving a training on sextortion, me and my business partner. A couple days later, we get a call back from after the training, and it was from a mother that learned enough about sextortion and the signs of sextortion that identified her son was being sextorted. And usually how that happens is a fake profile is created by a predator, and they mask themselves as somebody that is either the same age, same gender, interested in the same things, and then they start to build a relationship and a friendship. They start to, exchange secrets. They start to exchange photos and videos, and then before they know it, this child is being extorted because they actually pull the rug out from under them and say, well, I have these photos now, so you're either going to send me more photos or you're going to send me $500 every week.
Like blackmail.
Exactly, sextortion. And these children, these teenagers, it's the fastest growing online threat to teenagers across the country.
Wow.
And I'm not just saying that. The FBI actually put out a statement, I believe in January of this year, stating that very thing, that it's the fastest growing online threat to teenagers across this country. So parents need to be aware of what that looks like. Children and teens and young adults need to realize that it's never bad enough to take your own life, that there's always a way out of it, that there are tools and resources that can assist. But when we understand the dangers that face us, like grooming, like sextortion, sexual abuse, sexual assault, trafficking, then we can actually start to fight back. Because we can't fight back against something we don't understand.
Yeah, you have to understand it first. So have you seen a spike of this stuff since social media became a thing for kids? Because I feel like so many kids and students are on their phones all the time, and it makes it an easy access for someone to just be able to convince them that there's someone that they can trust, and a relationship they form through it.
Absolutely. Not only are they able to easily access more potential victims, but it connects people in a way globally, right?
Yeah.
So you could be talking to someone halfway across the world. You would never know who that person actually is. Be able to verify their criminal record, their age, their sex, location. So all of the things that protect anonymity on the internet can also be used to mask criminal activity and criminal offenders.
Wow.
So the internet has really become, it's like a car. A car is a good tool. It's positive. It gets you from point A to point B. It provides you an ability to transport yourself wherever you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be dangerous if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And so we need to understand that when we utilize the internet, when our children utilize the internet, it's a positive, it's a tool, but it can also be very dangerous. And so we don't hand the keys to our car to our 10-year-old and say, here, just be careful, drive safely. No, we train them when they're old enough, age appropriate. 15 years old, they study, they get their driver's permit, they have to go with their parents and log so many hours and then test for their driver's license. I'm not saying that you should do that for a cell phone, but you should work with your parents. There are education materials out there. One of them is cell phone permit. They teach people how to utilize the internet in a safe way. Wow. And what are the red flags, what are the signs. And so you're able to protect yourself a little bit more from some of these dangers. And like we gave the example of the Roblox thing.
Yeah.
That is happening.
I have younger siblings that go on Roblox, so.
Exactly. And so that is happening. Parents are in the other room taking a really important work call or just cooking dinner, and their children they think are safe.
Yeah, you think it's a game that nothing's going to happen to your kid. They're in your house, they're safe, but
the door is locked. They're sitting in the living room or in their rooms, and they're playing Roblox, and they're on their phone, and you check and you make sure the messages look good on their text messages, but you're not checking all the apps. So this is where being diligent, being vigilant, and being aware and educated on what these dangers look like is extremely important.
Because it's closer than we think. I mean, to be able to go on a game and then someone can talk to you and lie and say things to a kid who is more prone to believe things and take things easier than an adult who could maybe spot some of that. So it's so important that parents be parents now.
It's tough because, Roblox, I understand it's supposed to be a fun game like Minecraft and like some of these other games and apps. And so we've heard the message echo, I deleted Roblox from my child's phone, or they're not able to access it. My follow-up question is, okay, do they have access to Snapchat?
Yeah, same thing.
And most of the time they're like, yes. I'm like, that is one of the worst apps.
Yeah.
That, Discord, Roblox. And so it's like whack-a-mole. You get aware of one app and you delete it, and then you get aware of another app and you delete it. So yes, we need to protect ourselves from some of the more dangerous apps, but educate ourselves on safe internet navigation in the meantime.
Yeah. Because
it's not just sexual assault, sextortion, sex trafficking. It's cyberbullying. Children are taking their lives to cyberbullying. It's
the suicide rate of Gen Z is just horrible.
So the internet masks a lot of nefarious, bad activity, and parents, young adults, children need to be aware in an age-appropriate way and manner about how to navigate it safely, what's appropriate, and at the end of the day that they can always come to a parent, guardian, or trusted adult and communicate what's going on.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit about GUARD Against Trafficking right now, your organization and you. What are you guys doing? What projects are you working on? What's next for the entire organization?
That's an excellent question. So we are still all the time conducting research, all the time working on education. We have a couple of meetings set up with a couple of churches in the community to start messaging to faith-based communities about the dangers that exist out there and how to protect your children. We also have a couple fundraisers coming up. So fundraising is the lifeblood of our organization, and as a nonprofit, we need to be able to support the research and the education that we put out. So that is some of the initiatives that we're working on. Aside from research, aside from education, we are looking at some legislation, but we are in fundraising mode. It is year-end giving time, and so we're looking at messaging and being able to ask the community for help, because we are trying to help the community. So we also need help to be able to be effective and continue doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and if you're looking for a good organization to get behind, this is one of them. So how can they reach out? How can they give and be a part of just making this a big change in their communities?
That's an amazing question. Thank you. GuardAgainstTrafficking.org. We have a contact tab, and we also have a donate tab. So it gives you a couple of different ways to be able to donate, reach out to us, follow our our videos, our photos, kind of follow our journey.
Yeah.
And you can also follow us on all of our social media and keep up to date on what we're doing, the training that we're giving, and just being able to better prepare yourself, but also align yourself with a nonprofit that's doing the work.
Yeah.
You know what the money is going towards. You know that it's impacting your community. And you know, just from one of the trainings, we trained Hillsborough. That directly impacts the highways and the roadways that flow right into our very own communities.
Yeah.
So the work that we're doing doesn't just extend to the border. It doesn't just extend internationally. It is nationally and statewide and local.
Yeah, and I'll speak for me. I just thank you so much for what you're doing in the organization, because stuff like this happening in our communities is arguably the most important thing to start with, because local action equals national impact. So we have to start with where we are, what we're doing here. And it even goes into legislation, like you said. So many things are coming out of this. And for you mentioned churches, like Christians, if you're scared to be involved in politics, this is a great example of why we need to be informed and engaged with all of these things, because legislation can actually impact our children like you're doing. So thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, what we often say when we speak to individuals in the faith-based community is that traffickers don't target children based on their political stance.
Yeah.
They don't target children based on their religious stance. They just target children.
Yeah.
And so everyone needs to stand up. Everyone needs to unite and fight back against this issue, because if this is the one thing that unites everyone, it should be the focus and the dedication to protecting children.
Yeah,
I can't think of anything.
If we can all agree on something, it should be this one.
Absolutely.
All the good people, we need to unite for something like this. And we always end this segment here with a wholesome moment of the week. So this week, since it's Thanksgiving coming up, All Faiths Food Bank, which ties in perfectly, will be hosting a Thanksgiving food distribution for families in need in Sarasota County. So just to mention another organization. But get behind theirs, get behind this one if you need that. It's Saturday, November 22nd. Go to their website, All Faiths Food Bank, and also follow GUARD Against Trafficking for more information for them. Thank you so much, Allie, for joining me on this segment today.
Thank you.
And you guys follow us on Coastal Conservative News for more breaking news right in your communities. And we'll be back next week on Cam in the Moment.